Yeah, yeah. I think people just train and in self-regulation. They just, they want to feel a certain way, and they have very certain uh, self-regulation patterns that are associated with specific states of mind that they'd like to be in, and they just reinforce the state of mind by, performing these rituals. And
Yeah, thanks so much. Thank you, guys. So I really
yes.
hope that I was able to experience. I'm really happy that I was able to experience that new subscriber of yours. So kudos to everyone here, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good one, and see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
What do you mean by you went deep into physics and geometry and spatial dimensions? And how exactly did it lead you to philosophy? What department, maybe, of philosophy you were referring to? World model, as in model of a galaxy, or maybe, or the solar system. So, what is a world model? Lol. So, what do you mean by world model? Like, is an ontology, like a Neoplatonic would say, basically like a system of different levels of existence of reality, you could call it. Not topology, ontology. So, ontology refers to the study of reality, existence, and the hierarchy of being. That's a very good way of putting it. Where you have matter, you have the form, right? The forms, you have the world's mind, you have the numbers, and then you have the one. And I'm just recounting some shit I read about Neoplatonism at some point. Oh, yeah. And so interesting. What do you mean by organism? Like um, a wholesome, maybe you could call it a whole thing, right? That it's not just sporadic, not sporadic, but what you call it? It's not just like chaos, right? This chaos has direction, and there's no real chaos because the whole thing is one and has a specific internal structure. No, that is not scientific at all. So, in my understanding, science works way differently. It's not a scientific. It's probably somebody who pretends to be a scientist and tries to push some narratives that he finds for that or another reason appealing. So, a scientific approach would be to admit that we uh, hardly uh, can interact with the reality the way it is in the core level outside of human perception and its limitations. And when we do want to bend the reality to our will, we apply certain formal systems, right? Certain formal systems of describing very specific parts of reality. Like, for example, we have physics to describe physical interactions between objects. We have biology to describe life, and yada yada. These are formal systems. These are basically theories, and theories are all based in axioms, or you could call them self-evident uh, sentences, right? Self-evident observations that do not need any, that cannot, not, it's not like they don't need them, they cannot be proved, because in order to even compose a proof, you have to root it in theory, and a theory is based on an axioma, right? An axiom, and that's why that's not scientific. What you just said here, when you said everything is random or nothing truly makes sense, that's not true. Science is not about making general statements about shit and expressing your personal opinions. It's about developing specific formal systems that help describe a very specific part of reality specifically to bend it to our will, to solve some human problems. So my thought is either everything makes sense or nothing makes sense at all. Yeah, of course, even in the science department, there are a lot of categories. There are physicists or doctors who are religious at the same time. Yes, exactly. So there's no, can you turn your volume like, okay, sure. Sure, of course I can. Let me get my filters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, maybe it's still not good enough. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that should be good. Yeah, I'm sorry. A new microphone arrives the day after tomorrow, so it should be solved by that time, hopefully. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Be free to share. Sounds interesting. I'm no expert in physics or anything like that. I just like talking shit. But if you feel like I can help you or that I could try, I'm here. What is a full rotation? I'm sorry that I'm being such a pain in the ass, but I don't understand what a full rotation is. Like, if we're talking about the universe, I guess you're referring to space objects like planets, stars, galaxies, etc., solar systems, right? Asteroids and shit. And their rotation is not infinite. Theoretically speaking, if we assume that the tendency persists, where matter tends to bulk up into bigger concentrations of matter, like planets, for example. It used to be stardust, but then supposedly, based on what we know, it has formed into a planet. So let's say we are on a 2D plane, to make it simple, and we are a creature there. After we rotate 360 degrees, meaning a full rotation, we end up facing the same direction. Yes, that what I mean is full rotation, like this, right? Okay. And what do you mean by it being infinite? Ah. Okay. So yeah, that's all right. That makes sense to me. Is in yeah, it's like that reminds me of that model where basically if you would imagine having a film, right? Like a film where there are many shots, and you can when you play the film, the shots go in a specific order. So you see, laws do not exist the way that we assume they are. If I explain myself clearly, so laws, or what we call laws, exist only within like very specific departments of theoretical works. So you have like some very specific interpretation of very specific data that you then transform into formal language, and then you use it as a theory to build your theorems on. So basically, like a foundation for your predictions. And then when predictions tend to work out, and you somehow reach the goal that you've established for yourself as a human, like on a planet, then you kind of develop a feeling that it's probably a law, that there's probably so this specific thing that you just figured out is a law. And I don't think that that's true. I think laws of the universe are harder to comprehend, and even if we come up with something that's working, it doesn't mean that it's exhaustive, right? It doesn't mean that it exhaustingly explains, right? That it exhausts everything that there is to learn about the universe, even if we found something that seems to be universal across everything that we have covered. So yeah, and I was talking about the film, like about this infinite rotation, right? So for example, you have a film, and there are many shots on that film, and you when the film is not being played, projected onto a wall, with a machine, you can see all the frames at the same time of a scene, for example. But when the film is played, you are stripped of that luxury, and that's, in my opinion, exactly what the time is to a timeless being. So if we assume that time only exists only exists in the material universe, and whatever is Okay, my intuition kind of tells me that the reason we say we live in these 3 dimensions is because a rotation is infinite, or finite, sorry, is finite. If rotation would be infinite, then yeah, but it is infinite in a way that as the time goes, your space, right, the matter in your space changes, and that's just the nature of things. And at some point, the matter has changed in a way that, or maybe you could call it developed to a point where you appeared, where you, started existing, and and then you've been changing all the time. So in a way, you haven't ever been back in time, right? You haven't ever completed the rotation, if we use this analogy. But yeah, that's what Heraclitus would say, that you cannot enter one river twice. Everything flows, right, in this particular way, that every second, every single second we change, and we are absolutely new, even though there are, as I said, certain frameworks of thought that allow us to, still be functional, even given that impressive reality, that technically speaking, matter is very short-lived, very short-lived and very malleable. We actually never turn in the same exact space because, yes, exactly, yes. In the Minkowski space-time diagram. Okay, let's Google that. Interesting. I've never heard of that. 2D graph used in spatial relativity to visualize events in one space and one time. In one space and one time, what does that mean? I don't understand. In one space and one time dimension. It plots space on the horizontal axis. Okay, let's maybe, if there's a visualization. Yeah, there's a.
Welcome back to another video on special relativity. In this lesson, we're going to talk about space-time diagrams, also known as Minkowski diagrams. Space-time diagrams are critical in special relativity because they're used to explain events that happen in different frames of reference, and also to explain phenomena that underlie special relativity, stuff that we've talked about like length contraction, time dilation, etc. A basic space-time diagram with one spatial dimension is drawn something like this, with time on the vertical axis and space or x on the horizontal axis. Every point on this diagram with a fixed value of position and time, every point represents an event. Let's take a simple example. Suppose I have an object A located somewhere in space at position x naught at time 0. If my A does not move, then its position stays the same at time 1, which I'll draw as a point up over here. If A then continues to remain stationary, it will also be at x naught at time 2, and so on. Eventually, if I join all these points to draw the path of A in the space-time diagram, I get a vertical line. Now, the path of A in space-time, which happens to be represented by this vertical line for this particular situation, the path of an object in space-time is called its world line. For a stationary object, the world line is, as you just saw, a vertical line. But let's draw another space-time diagram to show another concept. Suppose I have an object B which initially starts out at x naught, but this time it moves at a velocity v towards the positive x-axis, so towards the right. This means that at some time t, object B will have moved v times t units to the right. So in this case, for an object moving at a constant velocity, the world line for that object will simply be a diagonal line. In this case, the velocity v will be the tangent of the angle phi over here, with the horizontal distance opposite the angle and the vertical distance or the time adjacent to that angle. And finally, let's suppose I have an object C that again starts out at x naught but is accelerating. So after a time.
Okay, I think I understand what it's talking about. I think it's about the relativity of time pace, right? Of the pace of time that depends on how quickly you're moving in space. The space considered one-dimensional, and time one-dimensional too. So we have one-dimensional space and one of time. Okay. Yeah, I mean dimensions are probably in relativity to time. If we call time a dimension in the same way we measure space with dimensions, then yeah, you can call it. But it's just like a terminological mess, basically. I don't think we should use the same words for time and spatial dimensions.
T, it's over here, but after a time 2t.
Even though it makes sense, like, because technically speaking, on this graph, you could call the dimension an axis, but these are not the same dimensions as spatial dimensions. Obviously, time is not space. Even if time space is one thing, these are two parts of that one thing that are not equal. Yeah, I know this visualizations of 4, 5, 6 dimensional figures that are incomprehensible, basically, and like this hypercube, right? If we look at hypercube. It's an incredibly interesting question of whether a 3D cube seen from all angles can be considered, or at the same time can be considered a 4D cube. That's a brilliant question in my opinion. Yeah, I think that's an incredibly well, at least for me, peculiar explanation, because I have been always bad with physics, and it has always overwhelmed me, maybe. But when you put it like this, it makes much more sense. Yeah, same here. But what about this, like 12, 14 dimensions of space? What, like, is there anything that I can understand about it? How did they come across like 12 dimensions explained? Not fucking spiritual dimensions. Energy made easy. And no, engineering made easy. Wait, maybe that's the right people.
Here in this video, I will explain all the 11 dimensions one by one. The video will be more and more interesting as we
It will mention how many dimensions there are in the universe. All higher dimensions are explained in the video. Dimensions from 0 dimension to 11 dimension have been covered in the video. 0 dimension, 0 dimension. A point is an example. Okay, I understand. A point is there's a infinite amount of points in a line. I'm not sure what the right term is in English. We have luck now with the animation tutorials that explain stuff well, of course. A spinner, okay. Electron needs to rotate, okay. That's fucking crazy. That's fucking insane. A spinner electron needs to rotate 720 degrees in order to make a full rotation. That's crazy. Why would you be? Well, because obviously this object is somehow different, but how do they track rotation then? It's crazy. Is it even right to call it rotation? Maybe it's just, as I said, some terminological mess. So that means that after it rotates 360 degrees, it disappears, then it rotates 90 degrees again and appears again. It's a Möbius strip. My god, dude, that's so crazy. It's a surface with only one side and one edge. Crazy. And has to be 4-dimensional without implication of time, just space. Insane. That's incredibly counterintuitive to imagine something that has only few of the dimensions of 3D objects that I'm so very well used to. Let's ask it. Is it? No, a Möbius strip is not a 4D object. It is a 2D surface that exists in 3D space. While it has a 2-dimensional nature, but when it says exists, my understanding is it doesn't exist in there. It only is hypothesized to exist in there. I mean, it's not like it exists in the same way that the rest of the objects exist. It's in my understanding, it exists like an idea. Just an idea that still does not violate the fundamental principles of the formal systems from which it is derived, which is, in my understanding, is math and geometry and maybe some other more advanced departments of these sciences. Klein bottle, which is 3D object that requires 4D space to exist. Klein bottle. What the fuck? You can buy it.
Thanks to Incogni.
What the fuck? Like, do you really need 15 minutes to explain Klein
Sponsoring
bottles?
today's video. Hello, Maths fans.
No, fuck you. Yeah. Nah, that's some shit. Let's go take a look at Klein bottle. Up there, full rotation, right? That's where it loops. Sure. Feel free to share. Cellular cosmogony. Cellular cosmogony. Why cellular? As if cosmos has begun from cells. Ooh. So here in Ukrainian it says that it's a pseudoscience theory. Okay, let me see. That Earth is a shallow, unmovable, imploded sphere. Okay. Imploded sphere. So, okay, let me see. Let's maybe there's some. Oh my God, there's a web archive shit. Let's see web archive about that. Wow, that's a pretty fucking cool illustration. No, absolutely, it's much more elaborate than flat Earth. If I had to choose between cellular cosmogony and flat Earth, and if I had to choose what my some of my friends believed instead of the flat Earth, I would definitely have picked that. Yeah. So I'm just the problem with me is that I have no fucking idea how to imagine an imploded sphere. How would you know that the sphere is imploded? And even if it is, like, okay, I can assume, like, some certain shapes, but only those that I can really imagine. Like, I don't have practice of imagining, like, very distant from, like, everyday human reality objects, basically, more or less. I'm not as bad with some other shit, but when it comes to like, very specific physical characteristics of objects, I usually lose track. Hypersphere. I have no fucking idea what hypersphere is. Ooh. Is a generalization of a sphere to higher dimensions. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah. I mean, supposedly you could make a point, but yeah, as I said, I'm a very superficial user of what do you call it, space physics, right? So I'm not as good at space physics as I'd like to be. How does it though? Let me see. How does cellular cosmogony explain? And while looking at that, I don't remember what is Fermi paradox stands for. Oh yeah, okay, I remember that. But now let's see actually what's here. What the fuck? Are you fucking reading this? That's insane. The first page of this book is a prize, is a quest that is rewarded by $100,000 that calls to conclusively demonstrate by facts of observation and experiment the Copernican or accepted system of astronomy, you know, the cellular cosmogony. That's insane. Okay, it's insane. And how does it solve Fermi paradox? Let's see what Google has said. Yeah, so the language model says it's nonsense. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's yeah, I have no idea whether that's the book, but that's something, when I googled it, that's what I got. And I like to check out the source material if it's possible. And especially in this particular case, it's very convenient because it was the first link. So let's see what's here. Okay. The universology of Koreshanity. What the fuck is Koreshanity? The form of the universe, of the great alchemico-organic world, motion and function, cause of motion, the remote cause of physical motion, the cause of motion from the biblical and theological point of view. So basically the beginning of the universe, the precession of equinoxes as related to the astral biological manifestations. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, so in my opinion, there's no harm in diving deep into some very specific theories that people had, but I'm just very skeptical by nature, and I only buy into theories for as long as they are beneficial to me, and I kind of have reflected that about myself. So when I look for, when I was trying to make my mind on what worldview to adopt, how to see the world, how to explain all the incredible phenomena that it presents, and I came to the conclusion that there are different, equally viable, equally well argumented positions or takes on how the world works, and I should just pick the one that makes me feel better, that propels me faster to where I want to be. Yeah, I understand, and I think I am theistic if we speak about my religion. So I do not perform any rituals, or don't go to anything like that. Even if I do it for the socialization first, not for some spiritual experience. Yeah, but I have a strong feeling and some what I consider to be great arguments for the existence of God and of the world, working in a Neoplatonic ontology. So that's just basically the best that I have stumbled upon throughout my life, and something that I liked the most and understood the best, in my opinion. So I'm just sticking to it. I do have some superstitions, but I admit those are personal and aren't part of collective religion. Yeah, just personal rituals. Yeah, but nervous ticks. Nervous ticks sometimes. Huh. Eh. Well, ritual is a. So I disagree strongly. A ritual is a situation where people are using themselves as substitutors or substitutions for specific gods of very specific myths. So technically speaking, ritual is like a way to to adopt and internalize a behavior and to perform a play, like a theatrical play. So it has just like in theater, it makes a certain impression and leaves not only on the viewers but also on the performers, but first and foremost on the viewers. And then tics are, in my understanding, some sort of neural, some other shit that is like totally on a different level, like physiological. I think tics are physiological, mainly. And then OCD is what we call perfectionism, maybe, or what we call when people employ themselves on certain tasks that are not necessarily very efficient in certain metrics. Like he had to have all his ducks in a row very aggressively, like, you know, not being able to do anything in a cluttered room or something. Oh, why? Oh, so that's much worse. That's crazy. That sounds crazy. But I mean, did he explain it in any way, or is it just somebody around, somebody who watched him? You know, because I also tend to go around my house sometimes. From a, you know, bystander's view, it might look weird. But I'd love more context, and ideally from the guy, from Nikola. Yeah. I think people just train and in self-regulation. They just, you know, they want to feel a certain way, and they have very certain self-regulation patterns that are associated with specific states of mind that they'd like to be in, and they just reinforce the state of mind by, you know, performing these rituals, and just like what Bushmen do, you know, in Australia, in Australian bush, or some African tribes. Thank you, Jonathan. I'm trying my hardest, in all honesty. Yeah. So I will go grab some food. I want to show you, if that's all right, I want to show you a band that I have discovered recently that I love with my heart. So I'll be still listening to it because I'm in the headphones. I just kind of want to listen to them while I go grab food, and I just want to basically take a little break and like do a little stretch and shit. And while that's happening, I'd like to show you these insane artists. I don't fucking understand what the fuck he's saying. Hello there. If you're hearing this, then probably you've watched the entire thing, and I'm very grateful for your attention and the time. Please subscribe, leave a like, make me rich, make me be grateful, and make me motivated to create better content and improve my broadcast game. Thank you very much, and goodbye.